Okay, Nanny's going to read from Richard Scarry's Best Nursery Tales Ever. I'm going to start with Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl. She was called Little Red Riding Hood because she always wore a red cape with a hood. Little Red Riding Hood lived with her mother in a little house on the edge of a deep, dark forest. One day, her mother said to her, "Your grandmother is not feeling well. I want you to take her some goodies." She gave a basket of cookies and cakes to Little Red Riding Hood and said, "Don't dawdle along the way. I want you home before dark." Little Red Riding Hood put on her red cape with the hood and set out through the woods to visit her grandmother. As she was skipping along the path, a wolf suddenly stepped out from behind a tree. Little Red Riding Hood was so frightened. She almost dropped her basket. But the wolf smiled and said in his sweetest, gruff voice, "Where are you going, little miss?" "I am taking some goodies to my sick grandmother," answered Little Red Riding Hood. "And where does your grandmother live?" asked the wolf politely. "In a little white cottage in the middle of the forest," replied Little Red Riding Hood. "Ah," said the wolf, "I know that house." "I hope your grandmother will be feeling better soon," he called, slinking back behind the trees. Little Red Riding Hood went on her way. When Little Red Riding Hood was out of sight, the crafty wolf ran with all his might by a shortcut to Grandmother's house. He wanted to get there first. He arrived breathless at Grandmother's house and knocked on the door. "Who is there?" called Grandmother. "It is I, Little Red Riding Hood," said the wolf, trying to make his rough voice sound soft. "Just pull on the latch string and come on in, my dear," said Grandmother. The wolf came in. He leaped at Grandmother and swallowed her whole. Then that crafty fellow put on her nightdress and nightcap and climbed into the bed to wait for Little Red Riding Hood. "She will think I am her grandmother," he chuckled to himself. In a minute, there was a knock at the door. "Who is it?" called the wolf, trying to sound like the grandmother. "It is I, Little Red Riding Hood," answered the little girl. "Just pull the latch string and come on in, my dear," said the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood came in and put her basket down. "Come closer, my dear," said the wolf. "Why, Grandma, what big ears you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to hear you with, my dear," said the wolf in his best grandmother voice. "And Grandma, what big eyes you have," the little girl said. "All the better to see you with, my dear," said the wolf. "And Grandma," said Little Red Riding Hood, "what big teeth you have." "All the better to eat you with, my dear," howled the wicked wolf. Then he leaped out of the bed and tried to grab Little Red Riding Hood. But Little Red Riding Hood was too quick for him. She ran out of the door screaming for help. A sturdy woodchopper was nearby. He rushed after the wolf and conked him on the head. The wolf fell over dead. Then the woodchopper noticed that something was moving around inside the wolf. He cut the wolf open and out popped Grandmother. She was all right, but a little bit upset by her experience. It was a good thing the wolf was so greedy he had swallowed her whole. The woodchopper carried Grandmother back to her bed. Then they all had a snack from Little Red Riding Hood's basket of goodies. Grandmother thanked the woodchopper for saving their lives and kissed Little Red Riding Hood goodbye. Then the kindly woodchopper took Little Red Riding Hood home, just in time for her supper. And that's the end of Little Red Riding Hood.